You're listening
The Ron and Don Show.
to the Ron and Don Show. And yes, my dad's pretty annoying.
All right, here we come. It's the Ron and Don Show, episode number 12. I want to thank everybody that's been going out to Apple, whatever player you listen to us on in podcast land. In fact, this just came in for Caroline. She says, what a great duo. Thanks to you guys for continuing to inform, enlighten, and entertain us all. More importantly, thank you for caring about our community and for caring about cops and kids. That's right. Don't forget, buy a Ron and Don Nation t-shirt, $5. And every exchange goes towards Charlie's Dinosaur. That's helping cops help kids. And we are just weeks away from now. We are going to send kids back to school with backpacks, with a lot of good gear packed inside those backpacks. And those are cops like, for instance, from the Pierce County Sheriff's Department, handing out those backpacks and making connections with kids. Because sometimes we take for granted, don't we, that, yeah, we got a kiddo and they got a backpack and we can afford to go back to school. We can afford pencils and pens, but there's a lot of families out there that can't afford it, and that's why Charlie's Dinosaur is so important.
Yeah, that, and especially vulnerable kids. Like, you think about, when I imagine these, like, oh, foster care. Like, I don't imagine the entry point to that, and so that's another thing where this helps out with Charlie's Dinosaur. When there's something that happens at home and it goes down and there's a transition, then Charlie's Dinosaur can step in and say, we can't solve all your problems, but here you go. At least your basic necessities for the next couple days, and maybe even longer than that, are provided for you, and someone cares about you. We see you. You're valuable. Here's a tangible item that you can open up, take things out, and just have something. And that goes a long way when you're 7, 8, 9 years old, to know that someone's there and they give you something that's your very own.
Yeah, more information about that, ronanddon.com. Our thanks to the Pierce County Sheriff's Department, Ed Troyer, and everybody there for partnering with us. Charlie's Dinosaurs, can you believe kids are getting ready to go back to school? Before we get going here, when is the last time you got a ticket? Do you get pulled over much here in the great Pacific
like
Northwest?
Like a parking ticket or a speeding ticket?
Any kind of ticket.
I've gotten a few parking tickets because I use the app thing.
Yeah.
And so here, my strategy, I don't know if people do this, it's called pay by phone. So I always think, here's what I'll do. I'm going to go meet Don for coffee. I'm going to put it for 27 minutes, and then it'll notify me. So if the meeting's not going well, I can eject, but then I can extend it, and then I always forget to extend it because I turn my phone over, and then I get a ticket that way. But a moving violation, it's been a while. Yeah. It's been a while since I got one.
You heard Dory Monson and Cairo talk about this before, because my understanding is he lives somewhere up in Lake Forest Park, and from time to time you hear him rail about the cameras.
I've gotten a couple of camera tickets.
The cameras
years ago
in Lake Forest Park. You and I, a number of months ago, went up to Lake Forest Park because now we're licensed realtors with Windermere. And something that's really cool that they do, there's a class that they give. It's a weekly class, and it's called Pro Start. It starts at 8 o'clock in the morning, ends at 5 o'clock in the evening. And you just kind of go up there with new young realtors, and you learn a lot of not only tricks of the trade on how to, for instance, open an open house and close an open house, but how you close a deal, how you do the paperwork. And in the state of Washington, what's really interesting, a lot of people may not know this, as a licensed realtor, you are functioning as a realtor in that process as a legal attorney. So there are a lot of legal issues that you have to learn.
Objection!
Right. So we went up to Pro Start. We had a great week until a number of weeks ago, I got something in the mail, and this is what I got in the mail. And evidently, this is a picture of my truck and a picture of me in my truck. And supposedly, and without reading it, I just want to show you the pictures.
Okay.
Supposedly, I'm doing something wrong in the truck. And as a result of whatever I'm doing wrong, which I haven't figured out yet, it's about to cost me $131.
Wow, that's a heck of a ticket.
So I'm going to hand this to you, and it says Notice of Infraction.
Well, give me this.
And it was sent to my house, and as you're looking at the pictures, Ron, what do you see in the pictures? Can you see me? Can you see my license plate? And does it look like I'm doing anything wrong in this particular picture up in Lake Forest Park, Washington? And if you're not from Seattle, it's just kind of it's the north part of the city.
Well, unless you're running a red light, which it doesn't seem like you are, or unless you're speeding, no, you're just cruising along in the right-hand lane.
You know, I have terrible eyes, and as a result of that, if you've ever ridden in a car with me, I don't speed. I would like to speed. I can't speed. One of the reasons I don't speed is because I don't have a lot of depth perception, and the reason I don't have depth perception is because I had to basically basically have one of my eyeballs replaced a number of years ago, and that's another story for another day. I looked at that picture and I said, you know what? I don't think I did anything wrong in this picture. And so I took that particular ticket and I just...
Okay.
Yeah, and I threw it away. I'm like, what?
I'm trying to figure out what you did wrong. It just says violation time.
It's a notice of infraction.
Fine amount.
Yeah, notice of infraction. It's $131. It was sent to me. Next thing I know, I get a follow-up letter from them. And the follow-up letter says that now I have committed a civil penalty.
It doesn't even say what the violation
I know,
is.
and now the penalty has gone up to $213.
Okay.
So somehow I've
What did you do?
I really upset. I don't know. Look at you can't see me in the truck. You can't see
the
my
light is green.
You can't see my license plate.
I checked the light. You didn't run a red light.
It looks like
your bumper is in the intersection when the light is still green.
When the light is green, yeah.
So if it had been yellow or whatever, maybe, and it doesn't give you a speed on there.
So now I'm up to $213 on
top of the 136.
It's been
in total.
It's been, and if I don't pay this, they tell me I'm in big trouble. Tax collection, all this stuff.
Sending to Lake Forest Park
under
jail.
Civil arrest, misdemeanor, whatever that.
Dude, how Barney Fife is probably the Lake Forest Park.
At the same time, I get another notice from Good to Go.
Okay.
And evidently, with Good to Go, you are not good to go if you have one little bolt in your license plate and your license plate is hanging sideways. My license plate was hanging sideways.
What do you mean it's hanging sideways?
It was hanging sideways. I had gone through the car wash in my truck, and I didn't know that my license plate was crooked, and the Good to Go couldn't read the license plate.
Oh, please.
$41.80.
Get out of here.
On a $3.50 or 40-cent toll. $41.80. So evidently, with Good to Go, I wasn't good to go. So I jumped online, and with the toll penalties and everything I had to pay, it was well over $63. Then I call the people from Lake Forest Park. It's a woman that answers in Arkansas, and she kept calling me Dawn. DAWN, and then she kept having me spell my last name, and she couldn't get down Dawn O'Neill for some reason. And I don't know if is that a hard name to remember. Maybe if you're in Arkansas, I don't know.
Maybe she can't spell.
So anyway, she said, "Why are you calling?" I told her why. She said, "How much do you owe?" I said, $213. She said, "You don't know?" And I said, "Well, it tells me in this notice that I think it's $213." She said, "Let me call the court." And I said, "Well, I've already called the court and nobody answers. You get a busy signal or nobody picks up the phone." She said, "Let me call the court, because if you pay $214, you pay too much or you pay too little, you don't pay the exact amount, then the court could reject this." And then she said, "You could be in real..."
Told you what you were doing?
She said, "You could be..." She had no idea. She looked up my case number.
Can't you pull the film? Don't they have film? Because
I don't know. All
right.
I don't. She knows. She just works for an organization that mans the cameras.
Yeah, she's not police or anything.
She's not the police.
She's like the head of the...
Her job. No, her job in Arkansas is just to sit there and collect money for Lake Forest Park. So she puts me on hold. I am on hold now, trying to pay this ticket, my $213. And I am on hold for 29 minutes. She finally clicks back over. She said, "Sorry, I forgot about you." I'm like, "You forgot about me? How could you forget about me? How could you forget about someone like me?" Right?
Right.
So anyway, she told me that she had called the court and that the line was busy, and then she had called back and that nobody was answering at the court.
Where'd you hear that before?
Yeah, and I'm like, "Well, what do I do?" And she's like, "Well, you can pay the $213. And she said, "It may work or it may not work."
Thank you. Very helpful.
She said, "But you should call the court and get an exact number and find out." And I'm like, "I just called the court. You called the court. We called the court. Everybody called the court. No one's answering at the court." And she said, "Well, I'll take your $213. And she said, "If it's not the exact amount," she said, "then your infraction may..."
What's the infraction?
Double! My infraction may double.
What's the infraction?
$213 times 2 out of Lake Forest Park.
This thing doesn't give you it just says notice of infraction. It doesn't tell you what the infraction is.
Now I know why. I'm surprised Dory Monson still lives in Lake Forest Park. If he does. I don't know if he does. Our good friends from Cairo. Now I know why he was so enraged when he got one of these
Because it doesn't say you're speeding. It didn't say you run a red light. It didn't say you did an illegal lane change. It doesn't even tell you what the infraction is.
Don't drive over a toll bridge in Seattle, Washington if your license plate is a little crooked, because you are not good to go. It's the Ron and Don Show, only on the Ron and Don Radio Network. I gotta calm down.
Help cops help kids. Go to ronandon.com right now and buy a t-shirt. And $5 from every t-shirt sale will help kids like me. It's called Charlie's Dinosaur. Don't go anywhere unless you want to. It's the Ron and Don Show, starring Ron and Don, and sometimes me at ronandon.com.
All right, ronandon.com. We are licensed realtors. If you need help buying, selling, investing, Ron Upshaw, Windermere.com, Don O'Neill, Windermere.com. All that information is up at ronandon.com. And if you click on the microphone, all the information about the podcast. And there are people that are still finding us. I was teaching a spin class this morning. Afterwards, I went to Cherry Street Coffee. Madeline was in there, and she's pouring a cup of coffee for myself and kind of my breakfast crew.
The breakfast bunch.
Yeah. And she said, your voice sounds really familiar. And then she told me that she grew up with me as a baby. I'm like, oh
boy.
And then she told me her grandfather listens to me all the time, or used to listen to me. Yeah.
That's the world we live in now.
Remember we used to be on a rock station and we had mullets and we thought we were cool?
Yeah.
Yeah, now it's that. Or my grandfather used to listen to you, and I listened to you as a baby. Anyway, I gave her one of our cards, our Ron and Don Nation cards, and she said, I don't know if he knows how to listen to a podcast, but I'm going to let him know that you guys are still out there in podcast land. It's really helpful if you download the app and you have a player. That way you can start and stop if you're not listening to us on the internet. And then if you share this information with other people, there are still a lot of people that are finding us for the first time, because we'll see people kind of binge listen to the Ron and Don Show and download like 5, 6, 7 shows when they go on vacation. And we really appreciate that. We appreciate the ratings.
So here's the important thing. If you own an iPhone, which is the most popular phone out there, you already have a podcast app. It's pre-installed on your iPhone. It is a purple icon, and it's called Podcast. You open that up. It's going to have you sign in with your Apple ID, which I know some people are like, what's my Apple ID? Your regular password.
Yeah.
Just sign in with the regular passwords, hit the little magnifying glass, and type in Ron and Don. It's really, and then you hit subscribe. So it's very, very simple, and then it'll just show up there. Every time we do a show, it just shows up. You touch that button, hit play, and you're good to go.
Yeah.
It's that easy. And then if you have an Android phone, you need to download Google Play, or you can download Stitcher, Spotify, Anchor, any of those apps. Cool thing about Anchor, which is where we host the show, and I do spots for Anchor, is you can leave us voicemails through the Anchor app, and you can also, if you want to support the show with a couple bucks a month, you can do that through the Anchor app as well. And so we really appreciate that.
That is really cool.
So I have a question for you.
Yeah, the city, and if you weren't in Seattle a couple of nights ago, the city was alive. And the reason why the city was alive, I think, is because the Rolling Stones were here. And there's some artists that you will go and listen to. You and I have talked about Willie Nelson before. And when you go see Willie Nelson is not Willie Nelson anymore. But you just want to be able to say, I went to Willie's last show. And the problem with Willie Nelson is he's never going to go away. He's never going to die. I've been to Willie Nelson's last show like 3 or 4 times.
It's funny that you bring up Willie Nelson. His son, Lucas Nelson, opened up for the Rolling Stones.
Did he?
If you're unfamiliar with Lucas Nelson, he's really a talented singer and songwriter. He has done a couple songs with his dad, but he's sort of Americana country-ish. He's really good. So you could look that up on your music player.
He's
Lucas
super handsome, too. I was in the Fry boot store the other day, and he's actually their spokesperson and their model. He does all the modeling of all the...
Lucas Dennis Nelson.
All
Look
the
him up.
Yeah. So what was it?
So I got a friend of ours had an extra ticket to the Stones. They texted me.
Oh, cool.
I bought the ticket and went there.
Nice.
Decent seats. Here's my thing. I appreciate the Rolling Stones, but I'm not a Rolling Stones devotee. Like in that era, I think of the Beatles, the Stones, Eric Clapton, Cream, Jimi Hendrix. Kind of that is the royalty to me of that.
Is Led Zeppelin in there?
And Zeppelin. So for me, like I'm a Beatles guy, and then probably Zeppelin and Clapton, and then the Stones. I appreciate them. I think they're they're obviously pivotal characters in rock history, but like there are people that they are just Stones, and like that's all they're going to do is be Stones people. I'm not that, but I know all the songs. I know the words to all the songs. I've familiar with everybody in the band, etc. Here's my question, and Rolling Stones people are probably going to throw their shoe at the radio now, and I'm not trying to be an a-hole or screw, to stir up some controversy. I'm wondering if this is possible because these guys are in their mid 70s. I had the feeling that Keith Richards was actually not playing all the guitar parts.
What?
And so Ronnie Wood was playing. This is coming from an Axeman. You're an Axeman. I'm an Axeman.
Yeah.
I can tell when people are not playing the guitar.
Okay.
And so I'm watching Keith very closely. And for large portions of the concert, he's not doing anything.
So you can tell.
He's just standing over there being Keith
Yeah.
Richards.
I may be not playing well, but I'm still playing.
Right.
Yeah.
Now Ronnie's he's the glue of that band. If you take Ronnie,
he's kind of the edge of the band.
everybody
right?
focuses on Mick and Keith.
Yeah.
If you take Ronnie out of the Stones, that band falls apart.
Oh, really?
Because he's holding it together when Keith's off just wearing silk shirts and being Keith Richards.
Yeah.
I want to, side note, the silk shirt budget on this tour has got to be in the hundreds of thousands of dollars.
All the guys in silk?
Everybody's got silk. They've got multiple colors of silk. We're changing silk shirts every song.
Oh, I love
like
that.
there's a lot of silk going on with the Stones. But now, so Stones fans, email me or hit me on the Anchor app and like leave us a voicemail, because there were times when a Rolling Stones riff is happening and I am watching Keith Richards and I'm like, he is not playing that riff.
What would he be?
They have a background band. So like Chuck Leavell's playing keyboards. You got, people, 2 or 3 keyboard players. You got 2 or 3 background singers. You got a bass player that's not an original member of the band. So like there are people back there.
Oh, okay.
And so I'm like, okay, is there like a pseudo Keith? Like on the days when Keith's hands are feeling crunchy, or maybe he's not at the top of his game, that there's some dude back there that's just kind of playing and Keith's guitar is down and he just sort of moves his hand around. I mean, there were times when he warmed up where he was clearly playing. I'm not saying that he's never playing. I'm just saying on some songs, is it possible that Keith Richards has a ghost player off to the side?
See, I'm okay with that because when I grew up,
I can be okay with that.
Well,
I'm here. I paid my money. I paid good money
huge
to see the Stones.
Listen to me. I was a huge. In fact, we watched the Muppets a lot in my house, and I bet your dad watched the Muppets too. For some reason,
everybody watched the Muppets.
Well, I don't know if everybody will, but my dad loved to watch the Muppets. It's one of my fond memories of him. And whenever you got to see, and it didn't happen often, but whenever you got to see the full body of Kermit the Frog, and it was usually on a bicycle, it was a thrill.
Right.
It was a thrill, wasn't it? It was a thrill.
I was amazed he could ride a bicycle.
Best Muppet show ever, 1976. John Denver comes out. He brings out his guitar. Kermit the Frog comes out, and they're going to do a little Foggy Mountain breakdown. Kermit the Frog, full body Kermit the Frog with banjo.
I remember that.
With banjo.
It's a meme now.
And when I was a little kid, I was convinced, absolutely convinced, that Kermit the Frog was playing the banjo. Upon review, now that I'm 52 years old, and I can watch this on YouTube in slow motion, and I want to be fair to John Denver, who's no longer with us, and I want to be fair to Kermit the Frog, who is still with us, by the way, and looks sensational, and I think he and Miss Piggy are still in the outs because she's dating Grover. Nobody knew about that. I always thought it was the bear, the Fozzie Bear. It was Grover. Who would have ever thought that? Anyway, you go back, you watch it in slow motion. There's probably a little Keith Richards circa 75 years old, going on with Kermit the Frog back in the day, 1976. I am no longer convinced it was actually Kermit the Frog playing the banjo the whole time. It's the Ron and Don Show on the Ron and Don Radio Network. All right, Ron and Don, brought to you by Ron and Don. We are licensed realtors with Windermere, Midtown. Working with Patrick Chin over there, Cameron Marson. We'd love to work with you. Go to ronanddon.com, click on our license logo, and we are licensed brokers. Thanks for being a part of something different than yourself. Don't forget, ronanddon.com. Buy those T-shirts. Charlie's Dinosaur. $5 from every shirt goes towards Charlie's Dinosaur, helping cops help kids, because we send them back to school. Episode number 12.
I want to get your take on this, because I find it fascinating. I think you are the actual poster child for this story.
Oh, man.
NFL preseason ratings have been the lowest ever, at least the opening game, and I haven't looked at all the ratings of all the preseason games, but it's the lowest, at least when they started that very first game, lowest ever. Side note, Doug Baldwin's people contacted me and want to know if he wants to be on the show. Do you think Doug would come to my house? Anyway.
I don't know. They've contacted us twice. So
yeah,
he's building and good for him. He's 29,
Doug.
He's 29 years old. He's retiring from football, and he wants to build a youth center in Renton. So I think he wants to come on.
Maybe he will come to the house.
Talk about that. And then I think down the road here, you're going to see Doug Baldwin, number 89 from your Seattle Seahawks. A lot of guys move away, and they take their stardom, and they move to other places in the country. And we saw Ken Griffey Jr. do that. But he's such a big star. Wherever he goes, he's Ken Griffey Jr. Doug Baldwin, if he moved away, he probably wouldn't be as recognizable if he lived in another part of the country.
I think he'll always have a base here.
I think he's going to stay right here. I think he's going to use the leverage he has. And I bet down the road here, you're going to see him get involved in politics in a very, very big way.
Well, I'll reach out if he wants to come by my house. Then Doug Baldwin can.
And Richard Sherman, who is still in the league, the players right now are renegotiating their deal, and Richard Sherman is at the table representing the players and what the players have done over the years. In football, it's interesting, and then we'll get back to the story. You get a paycheck every time you play a game. When you don't play a game, you don't get a paycheck. Those paychecks aren't guaranteed. You get paid in season, not out of season, unless maybe you got some guaranteed money up front. And so a lot of these players live paycheck to paycheck. They also come from families where other family members can't sign for a mortgage, so they sign for the mortgage. Some of these players that have been in the league between 3 and 5 years have 5 to 6 mortgages. And so you would think when they get a paycheck for $200,000 a game, that would be a lot of money to you and I. For them, that money is already spent.
Well, the agent gets a cut of that.
So already said, all of a sudden they blow a knee out, or you're Doug Baldwin and you're 29 years old and your career is over. So think about the contract that he had signed and they made such a big deal out of it. He never got all that money. It's the same with Russell Wilson. If something happens to him this weekend when he's playing, he won't get all the money. It's only the money you get that's guaranteed up front. Baseball, very different, and a lot of that money.
I think A-Rod is still getting paid.
Yeah, look at Robinson Cano. He is injured right now with a torn hamstring. He may still get paid for the next 10 years. A-Rod is a good example. Hopefully the players this time will stand their ground and they'll get a better deal. And hopefully Richard Sherman and guys like Doug Baldwin will help these modern day players be a part of that and understand finances. And again, back to Doug. I'd love to see him in local politics.
All right, I'll send him an email, see if Doug wants to stop by the house.
I would love to have him on.
So what do you think is going on with the ratings? Because I'm of two minds on this. One, I'm also a big NFL fan. I've watched maybe a couple minutes of preseason, and I watched it on YouTube. So I watched the recap of the Seahawk game on YouTube, and I stopped halfway through because it was the scrub players, and I didn't know who anybody was. But I have not yet this season sat down to watch a game. A friend of mine that's a Vikings fan was like, "Hey, Seahawks Vikings this Sunday, let's do it." And I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to make an appointment to watch a preseason Seahawk Viking game. And you, I think, are what they're talking about here. Is lifelong NFL fan. I doubt that you've watched any NFL live action this year, and they're saying that the number drew about the same as like a Big Brother episode. Like, it was not huge ratings. It was 4.1 on the meter, which if you don't in TV, it just means it's not a huge number.
See, I think people are watching, but I just think they're watching in other ways. In the way that they collect ratings through Nielsen, they just haven't caught up yet. So it's very archaic to do it through television sets, and they have to figure out a different way to do that. Because I think people are checking in on the game, but when you find out Russell Wilson, and they announce ahead of time, and it's fair to do this, that Russell Wilson is not going to play in this game. Well, if Russell Wilson is not playing in this game, then why am I even watching this game? And sometimes the superstars don't even travel with the team, and they'll say, well, they're staying back, they're getting treatment.
Their feet are frozen in France.
Yeah, whatever that is, they're not even traveling.
So
Ezekiel Elliott, for instance, was down in Cabo supposedly working out. Where do you work out in Cabo?
On the beach?
Is there even a gym in Cabo? I'm like, from the Dallas Cowboys. I'm like, give me a break. The last thing that Ezekiel Elliott is doing is working out in Cabo.
So for the past handful of years, I've looked forward to Don's Gumbo on game day at your house. This year, are we going to do a Gumbo Sundays, or have you moved on from that?
I check in on the games now, and I got rid of my man cave. And for me, and I've talked about this before, in all seriousness, when I saw that my son wasn't falling in love with football, but he's falling in love with other things, I'm like, you know what? I got to follow his bliss. And we could sit here and go on a camping trip on Sunday, or I could sit around all day and watch football. And that's the thing. What the NFL has done a good job of doing, especially when you go out to stadium, because the stadium experience is still great. And if all you can do is afford a preseason ticket, it's still a great experience to go out there, even if the game doesn't count and you take your family out there. The in-stadium experience that the Seahawks have created is still a great one. But at the end of the day, it's an all-day experience. And for me, I would rather spend all day with a 9-year-old, because before I know it, the 9-year-old is going to be an 18-year-old, and then I can return to football and go sit in the stand. And I'll go to a game or two this year. I didn't go to any games last year. I'll go to a couple games this year, but the days of having a man cave, and I had a basement, you saw it, it was like lime green and blue, and there was Seahawk gear everywhere.
Well, I turned off my cable. I don't even know how to get the game now. I tried to find it on Twitter or something. I couldn't find it.
Yeah, I have basic cable, and on my main TV, I actually have it unplugged because I plug other things into it, and a lot of times I forget to go back and even plug the TV in, because when we consume media, and going back to the ratings, we don't consume media through the television set anymore, and the NFL is figuring that out. So as they're sitting at the table, the guys like Doug Baldwin, bringing it back to Richard Sherman, they have talked about those 4 games, possibly making 2 of those games count. And a lot of the players have pushed back on that.
You can't have player safety and an extended season.
That's what they said.
Out of the same breath.
Then there are other people that are saying, well, what if we do this? What if we make players in the regular season sit out 2 games for player safety? Then you have guys like Tom Brady that has said, you know what? I've been wearing the same helmet with the same technology since college. His helmet was just banned. He was sent a letter by the NFL, and they said, if you don't wear the new and improved helmet, you will not be playing on Sundays. He got so ticked off and mad because he's like, this is the same gear I've been wearing forever, and now you're going to change it? And the question is this, is the NFL really concerned about his safety, or are they just concerned about selling the new improved helmet, which, by the way, they have a stake in, and they want all the kids out there wearing the new improved helmet.
Well, that helmet company here in Seattle,
because they make a lot more money,
does have studies on the safety. The Visus, whatever it's called.
Of course they do, but what are they selling?
Helmets.
Yeah. Beer companies have studies on alcohol.
I think Tom Brady can afford it.
Wine, for instance. If you go back and look at all the studies about wine being good for you, guess who funded those studies? Yeah. Big wine, if there is such a thing. It's the Ron and Don Show, only on the Ron and Don Radio Network, y'all.
Hey you guys, are you ready for the best show in the Pacific Northwest? Here's my dad to his boyfriend and friend.
Hey, don't forget, if you want to know when the Ron and Don Show drops, it drops every Monday. And we're working on more episodes right now. Maybe bring in 2 or 3 episodes. a week as we have begun talks with some great advertisers. They've reached out to us, and we appreciate that. How do you get signed up for the newsletter? Because everything Ron and Don is in the newsletter, and we love your pictures. We can put them up on our Facebook pages, also in our newsletter. If you have the Ron and Don Nation T-shirt, send us a picture from anywhere in the world of you in that T-shirt. Maybe you and your family, you and your dog. And we'll put it up online. $5 goes towards Cops Helping Kids with Charlie Stone.
Yeah, you can sign up at ronanddon.com. Just click on the microphone, and then the form is right there at the top. Cool. Email address.
Hey, before we get out of here today, a lot of people have been wanting an update on the hot candy. We have had an actual police officer, a former police officer, reach out to us. He warned us about the hot candy, and he is now actually a licensed masseuse. And as a licensed masseuse, he has gone undercover in a lot of the massage parlors in the Pacific Northwest, and he's like, Ron, you need to be careful when it comes to the hot candy.
I was feeling the need for a massage, and someone said, hey, try this reflexology place.
Yeah.
It was in a strip mall, so I'm not going to like one of these houses on Aurora with a red neon sign out front.
But it was a strip mall.
Hey-o.
You went to get a massage at a strip mall.
Right, I see what you did there. So, and through the course of the massage, it was very unusual.
Yeah.
Unlike any massage I've ever had, because I usually go to the ones where you go into a room and you're, with a licensed massage therapist. This one, the woman leaned down into my ear at one point and said, and again, there was a little bit of a language translation issue going on. I believe she said, you like some hot candy, something involving hot candy. And I've gotten quite a few emails, including the one from the police officer, that said, here's what was going on. She wanted you to go into a back room situation.
Because what room were you in?
I was in the main room. I was in the, it was a shared room. There was like 10 tables in the
regular candy. The candy wasn't hot yet.
Yes, it was just
in the regular candy.
Straight up candy. I was in the candy aisle.
You're in the candy shop.
And I don't know if that's true or not.
Okay.
I did not go, let's be clear. I did not want any hot candy.
Yeah.
I did not go into any back rooms. I stayed in the regular candy aisle in the front of the store.
That's right.
All right. But I have a friend that he's like, man, me and my his girlfriend that wanted a massage. They had the same thing. They went in and they said that they believed they had the hot candy massage, and it was weird. It's a little bit weird. And maybe this is standard issue in those places, and it's just my first time.
Yeah.
But the follow-ups have been very interesting to see what's going on.
So what is your takeaway after reading the follow-ups? What do you think was going on?
I think that there may have been that if you're inside this subculture where you want the hot candy, that might be a code word.
Somebody told you it wasn't hot candy. They told you they were saying something else, right?
No, I don't...
Somebody wrote us and said they weren't saying, and it might have been the police officer, said they weren't saying hot candy. It was something.
No, it was like that could be that there's like certain trigger words that when you want to, if you want to go into the back room, that they'll, and maybe, I don't know, if you wanted to go in the back room, that you can respond in a certain, I don't even know what it is. What do you do?
Another update, some lady's been sending your hair ties from Korea in the mail. We don't know if there's a connection to the hot candy. Have you received any more hair ties?
No, I've gone to the mailbox every day. I kind of was hoping I would be getting more Korean mail scams.
You miss her already?
No, but I threw the hair tie away.
Yeah.
I have not received any more hair ties, and we'll have to see if I'm a part of that deal.
Yeah. I have a friend that's a plumber, and he is married to a beautiful woman, and he's been married to her for 18 years. And it all started, he thought, is a mail scam from Poland. And this is when people didn't jump on the internet. They weren't meeting on the internet. It was like, and he thought he was being scammed. And at the same time, she was too beautiful to not go meet her. And so he flew to Poland. He brought her home. And he knew as soon as she was a citizen, she was leaving.
Right.
She's never left.
Really?
Yeah. Still with him.
Good for him.
Yeah. And you look at the pictures and you're like, oh, she. And he agrees with
really wanted to get out of Poland.
Yeah. Anyway, thought that was interesting. That has nothing to do with the hot candy.
No, nothing at all.
Oh. Anyway, how can you reach out to Ron Upshaw? You are a licensed realtor, aren't you?
I am. Member of the National Association of Realtors. You can get me, Ron, at Windermere.com.
Yeah, I'm at Don O'Deal at Windermere.com. And again, working on Yeah, providing some more episodes through the course of the week. And in fact, we're recording this on a Friday morning, right? Charlie's upstairs eating one of your shoes. And my son is up there playing video games and letting him do that. So,
Of course.
well, at least he's not down here eating your couch.
Of course.
Yeah.
He's being closely monitored.
Switching it up. All right. He's Ron. I'm Don. We just want to encourage you to keep your head up and your shoulders back. Don't forget, kids are going back to school and they could really use your help. The Pierce County Sheriff's Department has put together something called Charlie's Dinosaur. It is helping cops help kids as we put together backpacks. All you have to do is go out to ronanddon.com, buy that Ron and Don Nation t-shirt, and $5 goes towards Charlie's Dinosaur. And the dog bandanas are on their way. All right? Don't forget, the show drops every Monday. We will see you soon right here on the Ron and Don Radio Network.
Ron and Don.
Okay. You good?
Yeah.
Okay, let's get going.